Welcome back to the WrestleChat Podcast. My name is the AntMan. His name is Michael. Here to talk some wrestling on Wednesday. Now, in all fairness, we record this on Tuesday. In fact, I think that Cody Rhodes is getting ready to walk into the NXT arena as we start this, which we'll watch a little bit later on. So if something major happens there, we'll do it next week or we'll tweet it or something like that. Michael, how are things going in your world?
Good, man. It's summertime. It's busy. The kids are home. So, the grocery bill went up. My sanity went down.
Yeah.
But it's all good. Kids are a great age. They're a fun time. And yeah, we're just hanging out for the summer, keeping an eye on some wrestling stuff, and it's all good.
Right before we jumped on here, I was on a phone call trying to set up a meeting for either later in the week this week or sometime next week. And we started looking. I was like, I can do it Thursday or I can do it the second week of July. There's nothing in between that I have available at that point. We have this, we have a couple other things going on, but yeah, it is starting to get busy, and it's that different busy than it is in the school year. It's the busy with family stuff, which is the busy I like, and I know you do too. Speaking of busy, a lot going on in wrestling. Let's talk about Ricochet, because she's talking about Ricochet has informed WWE that he is not re-signing and he wants to be a free agent after his contract is up. You watched Raw, things got a little crazy on Raw, and what's interesting is that a lot of times when wrestlers are written off of TV because they are leaving, it's almost just like an abrupt ending to a story, and they get squashed right then, and they roll out of the ring, it's over. You don't see them again until they reinvent themselves and come back. Not really the case with Ricochet. I mean, this is actually a pretty big deal with Ricochet and Braun Breaker. Braun has been on a roll. I thought it was an interesting match that they'd put him up against Ilya Dragunov. We can talk about that later. But after that match, Braun doing what Braun has been doing, he was going to just take out Ilya after the match is over with, and was attacked by Ricochet in that match. I didn't see that coming, and I definitely, if Ricochet was going to be written off, I didn't see him having such a big spotlight in that portion of just taking out Braun. What were your thoughts in this moment?
Well, few things to respond to what you're saying. I think we're in a different time now. I think we've got different people in charge that are more interested in playing the long game than the loyalty game, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I think in previous regimes, it's like, well, I'm going to let my contract come up. Well, cool. We'll screw you and have a nice day. Yeah. I think that Ricochet has been a great person on the roster. I think he's well liked.
Yeah.
And so
I think player.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it could just be like, hey, we want you to come back, so we're going to treat you right on the way out. Now, I don't want to distract too much from the segment itself, but now addressing the elephant in the room, bro, Ricochet, what are you thinking, man? Like, WWE is the hottest it's ever been. Yeah. They break record after record after record. They're doing all these international shows. They're partnering up with other promotions. Like, bro, if you want to scratch an itch, ask to go over to TNA for a week or two.
Well, yeah, there's a partnership there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so, he did great on the independent scene. He'll explode and do that. But, I've not lived that life. I don't know what it's like to work for WWE or work on the independent. So I don't have any place to say. It just feels like a strange decision. So I guess we'll leave it at that.
Well, here, let me ask you this. So I am, there's a little, I don't know whether I should tell you my end thought here at the beginning and work backwards or get to it. I think I'm just going to tell you, I'm kind of wondering if this is not a work. And here's what I mean. So we've had Will Ospreay on AEW say, he said something about Ricochet. Hey, would love to get you over here to work with you. Something to that nature. I don't know the exact verbiage, but there was a mention from Will about Ricochet and them being able to work together. people even thought there could possibly be some a contract tampering just by him doing that and saying that on TV. Then there's also this. So maybe you ride the coattails of that. Hey, there's rumors. Let's play with those a little bit and actually get people interested. Because let's be honest, Ricochet is great for spots, amazing for spots. That guy I think he is still traveling north from WrestleMania when he launched off. He's still going up, still hadn't come down. His spots are absolutely amazing. His storylines and his mic work have not been up to par. It would just with a lot of other guys. I say up to par. He's great at some things. He's not great at others. How about that?
Yeah.
They haven't really worked Samantha into any kind of storyline except when it kind of benefited Logan Paul.
Sure.
When it was kind of really set him up as a heel. However, on Monday, if he's been being written off of TV, at the end, there was an attack from Braun Breaker on Ricochet that ended up sending him to the hospital or to the medical facility. I'm sorry.
Local medical facility.
Local, yes, it is a local one. It's not one somewhere out of town. It is local for sure. But he was in the back of an ambulance. But who runs to his side and vacates her place at the side at ringside, announcing wrestlers coming to the ring is his real life fiance, Samantha, and they even show her running up. If he's leaving, why do you remind people that he has a tie to WWE and there's something going on here, that the real life couple? Now, there was a time, I know that when Dean Ambrose was being written off of TV, and they did have, and this is when Renee was still working there, they did have Renee come to the ring in front of everybody and on TV, had her come to the ring and check on him. And so, because people knew that they were really together, people being fans. So, there is some precedence, I guess, that you could incorporate this and still have the star leave. But man, I don't know, after Monday, I kind of am wondering, I'm like 50-50. Even though the dirt sheets are the credible ones are saying that, okay, no, we have confirmation he is going. I'm kind of almost in this 50-50 camp. If he shows up somewhere else, then I'm going, okay, yeah, then I was wrong. It wasn't at all. But if we get 3 weeks down the line and Braun's in the middle of a match and all of a sudden some guy flies in from the rafters and it's Ricochet, I could totally see that happen too.
Yeah, I think the biggest question mark for me is the ability for the powers that be to keep the secret. That's the weird part for me, is like, unless it's you and Hunter just like, pss, 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 pss,
Yep.
Like, how do you keep something like that secret in such a big organization? So I think we're going to find out. Time will tell, but it's, wrestling is going through a great boom. So there's opportunity everywhere, but it's a strange move if it's true.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And especially with this life you have set up unless there's just like ridiculous, ungodly amounts of money waiting on him at AEW or something. That could be, 3 years at AEW and you make $20-30 million. I'm not saying that's it. I'm saying that if something crazy, maybe you go over, you do it for 3 years and go, hey, we're getting married. And yes, he and Samantha, and they live happily ever after and don't have to worry about money again. But I don't. Big pay-per-view PLE. One, I want to get to the UFC Apex arena. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But what was your thoughts on Jordynne Grace and her time on Sunday? Taking on Roxanne Perez, losing bout, but also, and losing an earring. But what do you think of her performance?
Great match. Always, we knew going into it that it was going to be good.
Sure.
The finish, I've been fighting off yawns this whole time. And while it sounds like I'm tastefully pondering, I'm fighting off these yawns, but no,
Michael has a lot of natural gas at his house. It makes him sleep. We're not too worried about the carbon monoxide, but it does affect. Yeah.
I needed the 9 volts for other things, so I took all the batteries out.
That's what it was.
But no, it was a great match. The finish was a little less of a cop out than I thought it was going to be. It was definitely a better version of kind of what we talked about last week. We all kind of assumed that it couldn't be clean. I am disappointed. I think a lot of us wanted to see Jordynne Grace, grab the NXT title, even if for just a couple of weeks. I think it would have been a cool a cool thing to do.
For her to have that title.
Yeah. But having a couple TNA people show up and kind of weird to have, is it Ash by Elegance or something like that?
Yes. Yeah. Formerly Dana Brooke.
That was kind of an interesting little tie-in, but no, it was really good. It was a great match. There's something we're building to something with Jordynne Grace because we also read that she's doing she's helping to do motion capture for other WWE superstars for 2K25. And
that's cool.
Yeah. So not only is she like actually an on-screen talent, but they're using her, for her actual technical ability to do all this motion capture stuff for other people for video games. And so how are you TNA and not going, this isn't looking good? But
there's got to be a long play here, though. I think we've seen hints of other things, of other guys, Moose possibly coming over with, doing something in WWE with, was it Damien? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that could be really, really cool. I like the intertwining and the surprising. Like, I love that Jordynne came out and it was a surprise. I also loved how the week before, the Tuesday before the PLE, she came out and on the back it said, was it?
I know what you're talking about, but I'm trying to remember what it was. NXTNA.
NXTNA. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah. And just putting the two together and really representing both brands. You couldn't ask for a better person to represent both brands. She's great.
I'm also kind of waiting to see if TNA is going to take more of a direct pull. There it is. I couldn't find it anymore. I'm waiting to see if TNA takes more of a direct, okay, it's our turn now. I don't know if the deal is more like, hey, TNA people are getting exposure on a larger network, so maybe that'll make people tune in. You would have to think there'd be more give and take than that, but I'm also waiting to see. I think there's a TNA pay-per-view or something coming up, and I think I'm kind of waiting to see if anybody from NXT shows up over there. So it'll be interesting.
It'll be cool. Now, this event, this PLE on Sunday, took place. They actually had it scheduled in one location, pulled it to take it to the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. Apex was built or was kind of initiated during the lockdowns where they could still have some UFC fights, kind of like WWE took over Tropicana Field to make the Thunderdome. UFC had this place set up an octagon, still had fights, but didn't have really a crowd. So we've never seen a crowd inside there or anything significant like a PLE. Even after watching it, I thought it was still an interesting choice. There was a lot of, for it being a small space, they still left some dead space in weird places. And when you kind of see something, I would have thought there would have been maybe more tech in a place that was smaller, more technology, smaller place. They would do more with LEDs and boards and such like that with not as many people in. They didn't do either one, didn't have a lot of people, didn't do really any tech. They just have some really cool curtains that are great for sound back in the back. But do you think that this is a revisit? Do we go back here again and do this again? Or is this a one-off and say, okay, there's plenty of other places we can go?
I don't know. Two answers. One, WWE has really stuck to keeping the independent look for NXT, even,
that's true.
When we went to, I think it was NXT Stand and Deliver.
In Philly.
In Philly. I mean, that's NXT's WrestleMania because it's on WrestleMania weekend. Full arena. And, they had just come off of SmackDown. They went through all the work to take down all the LED, everything.
They sure did.
And knowing that it was going to go back for Monday Night Raw. And so they are very, very dedicated to keeping all that on the down low for whatever reason. But it was the Apex was an interesting choice. To your point, the dead space, things like that. I think the thing that caught me off guard was, even in the midst of all that dead space, one thing that I noticed is that the distance between the ring and the barricade was painfully small.
Yeah.
To the point where there was
very small.
There was some people would do some over the top rope stuff or some suicide dives, and there was no room there. And then the next thing I noticed was it looked like, standard karate mats on the floor instead of, the nice stuff around the ring that they normally have. So it was definitely an interesting vibe. I don't know if it was good or bad. I can't.
For me, it went a little like, if you're trying to keep that independent or that kind of vibe, I think we went back one step too many.
Yeah.
I did think it was interesting how the point you just brought up, how they took down the LEDs for Stand and Deliver. So much so that they took down the LEDs, but still had sponsored matches. So what they had to do was come out with vinyl stickers to put on the railing, so they could, and the railing was even different. It wasn't the normal padded railing. It was the bicycle railing. They put it's so interesting how they've chosen to do that. And I get the setting it apart. Listen, you're in NXT and then you have this. When you get to Raw or SmackDown, you have this. It's something to look forward to. The presentation's different. Maybe we can compromise and do something, but I don't think going back to,
I would push back against that thought, though, because it's not for them. It's for us as the viewer.
Yeah, well, that's true. But it is. I think it is for the wrestler as well. I mean,
it can be, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're the viewers consuming it.
Yeah.
And when you do such a bang up job, at the main roster level, you don't want to make the stars of tomorrow harder to be vested in. And so I'm not saying throw all the same resources at it, but at the same time, don't make it look like we pulled up to an armory either. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think maybe the Apex 2 could also just been, just some of the partnership within the family now with UFC. Hey, UFC's got this. What if we went and did something there too? And they're like, yeah, why don't you come on into our house and bring your show here? That it could just be some friendly, cohesiveness inside the TKO world. Before we move on, we haven't talked recently very much about Manshaw Chronicles. I mean, you got some new podcasts dropping. What's going on this week?
Well, we were off last week. One of the guys had to go visit some family, so we took the week off. We're gearing to be back in the saddle this Saturday, live, I believe, in the morning. The cool thing about being friends is that, doing podcasts, it reaches the point where it's like, it just becomes a hangout time.
Yeah.
And so
really
for
does.
the days, or the couple months or whatever that we get real structured and, hey, this time, all the time. And, that's great. It works out for everybody. But more often anymore, the podcast is really becoming truly, the way we market it, that it's just four friends hanging out, talking absolutely absurd stuff. So this weekend, I know we're doing a draft based around some food. And I know that for us, food is, part of our lives in a very, very passionate way. So we're going to be doing a draft around some food stuff. We're going to play some fun games. It's going to be a great time together. We've not been able to talk over the last week or two, just because we've all been busy with work and traveling and doing all kinds of things. So you're going to watch us catch up in real time,
Nice.
Tell all the jokes. So would invite you guys to keep an eye out. Saturday morning, we'll be live. Or of course you can catch us on replay anytime on YouTube.
Yeah. And if you're watching this on YouTube right now, there's a link to it just here on our channel. You can go down there and click the Manshaw Chronicles and catch that on Saturday morning. But it'll be fun. Let's talk about LA Knight and Logan Paul. This has the makings of being could be one of the best feuds of 2024 if they play it right. Logan Paul's doing his part. LA Knight's doing his part. Are we going to do our part as fans? Are we going to get behind this? And I mean, I think both guys have done a great job of getting their respective fans behind them. And there's just something about these two that I think could just be absolutely electric. And we're going to get to see some of that hopefully very, very soon. But Logan Paul turning down LA Knight's challenge for Clash at the Castle. He's like, I'm busy. I don't have time to do that. Now, I know that Logan said on Friday that he was going to be at the Tetris tournament, and that even LA Knight said that, well, if he's too busy, maybe LA Knight will go to him. Although I will say that I haven't seen anything. Did he go and did he attack him while he's playing Tetris?
I actually don't know. I didn't see anything about it, But all I know is that LA Knight is not afraid to get into random brawls in places.
We know that for sure.
Yeah.
This close.
We were in the press room at WrestleMania when all that went down, and it was interesting. But yeah, to your point, it's going to be good. It's two guys who are really passionate about the business, passionate about doing good work. I think Logan is doing really well, and I think his run with the U.S. title is still really hot, but I think we're probably about to the peak of it where we need to hand it off before it becomes a little stale. They've done a really great job with him, and it really could go on longer and be fine, but I want it to... I don't want to sit on it too long and it becomes stale, you know?
Yeah.
LA Knight is way overdue for some type of recognition in an official capacity. I'm not super thrilled that it's the U.S. title. I don't necessarily have anything against it. I was kind of hoping for something a little more substantial, maybe like an Intercon title or even World Heavyweight. But if this is where we're going to be right now, you know, something is better than nothing. But I'm hoping as well that there will be a little bit of back and forth, you know, even if, for instance, LA Knight picks up the title at SummerSlam or something like that, that it won't be a one and done. Cause I think there's a lot of mileage that could be had in this.
I think so too. And that would be kind of cool to see that title change hands in Logan's hometown.
If you look at wrestling booking, that's normally where it happens.
Exactly. That's so true. You know, I'm kind of on the opposite side of that. I think it could be good for not only LA Knight to get that title, but for that title to get LA Knight. We saw what happened with Gunther and the Intercontinental title. Intercontinental title has always been great, but it's also been put on people as a placeholder, and then went to another placeholder and another placeholder, and then it was that's a interesting looking new title that they designed here, and just out of the blue threw it on somebody. Now the Intercontinental title means something, and Gunther really helped that happen. And what he did in the ring and the longevity he had. We see in the same way, in a different vein, that happening with LA Knight. I mean, just great in the ring, great on the mic, would be a great person to be carrying around that U.S. title. And could he make that better? I think Logan's already done that a little bit with the title, and that title's been seen absolutely everywhere. On that dude's shoulder, around his waist, every place he goes, he takes that title with him.
He had a guest on Impulsive that I wanted to see the last couple weeks, and right there front and center on the coffee table is the U.S.
It's on
title.
every Impulsive. The title and Prime are both sitting there on the table, and it's not a replica. That it's the one he carries around everywhere. It's the one he has in the ring, and it's the one he has on Impulsive. It's pretty cool. But I think that LA Knight could be that guy to help elevate that title back to where it should be. Maybe where John Cena, what John Cena did with it, and did a great job with that. Speaking of titles, let's move over to the tag division real quick, because there's some things going on here that I think are the opposite of what we're trying to do with the U.S. title. Kind of just dudes with some hardware over their shoulder or around their waist. Now, I'm not discrediting the actual wrestlers, but the booking and what they're doing with them, I find it very, very interesting that let's call it what it is. On the surface, Awesome Truth is a comedic tag team. Both of them are acting goofy. They're not acting serious. Every week they're acting like that. And that's good for a period of time. But then they go in the ring with AOP and beat AOP. There's nothing credible to me about Awesome Truth beating AOP. Unless the guys, you know, the suits backstage are just not seeing what they need out of AOP. And they were trying to kind of teach them a lesson. But first, Truth calls them APA, which is just awesome. No, it's AOP. And but then to actually beat them, maybe it could have been a disqualification if you're not ready to move titles or something like that. I don't know, but are you getting the same vibe I am with these titles around Awesome Truth's waist?
Yeah, and I think the thing that bothers me is we're way deep into faction land right now.
We are.
And that's what is confusing, because, you know, everybody it was widely talked about for years that the New Day used the Freebird rule.
Yeah.
And for those that are listening that may have not have heard of that before, it goes back to the Fabulous Freebirds, multiple people in the faction.
Three guys, yeah.
The group has the tag team titles, so they all have that recognition, even though there's only, 2 titles.
Any 2 guys could defend them. Yeah.
Right.
That's a
better way to say it. Yeah. But in faction land, you've got all these groups of people, and we're not doing anything. I can never say them, but like, honestly, my favorite faction right now is El Fantasma, I can never say the name. I can't speak Spanish, but they're like,
I call them my wrong name, so you're already closer than I am.
Santos Escobar is the stuff, man. That guy is so cool. Like, he's my like man crush right now. And then he's got Humberto and Angel. Now I know their contracts are being negotiated, so that could probably be part of it, but man, that's a cool group. And like, why are they not getting the rub right now? And, I love, Austin Theory's cool. I love me some Grayson Waller, and they're doing less with the titles than they were doing before they had the titles.
I completely agree.
And
what do we need? What do we need to get back to where tag titles are a legit thing and matter?
I think I think all the pieces are in place. I think it's just maybe we're, for a while, if you think about it, maybe they're just trying to do opposite booking. The tag titles were such a focus for a while when they were on the Usos, and then Kevin and Sammy picked them up. Maybe they're just trying to shift back towards single titles for a little while. I don't know. But that's the only thing that I can really rationalize, because the rest of it doesn't make sense. There's plenty of TV time, there's plenty of room, and there's plenty of people who are set up to do this right now. Yeah. And I want to kind of spiderweb a little bit and go back to the AOP thing. It's even more frustrating when you've got a whole faction, a heel faction at ringside that still lost against 2 guys who had no backup. It was just a weird deal, man. It didn't feel good.
That whole group, though, could be amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, Karrion Kross is believable.
Yes.
AOP, Authors of Pain, believable. What more do we need from this group? They put them together. I don't know. I would like to see. They were obviously with Paul Ellering as their manager, AOP, being who I'm talking about. He was the manager of the Legion of Doom. I mean, he's been with some super credible, obviously, tag teams, maybe the best tag team ever, Road Warriors. And if we could kind of get that rub a little bit, which I think was kind of the reason to have Paul Ellering out there, it could totally change the face of tag team wrestling in WWE for sure. Let's do this. We've got the PLE coming up on Saturday. It is 2:00 your time, Eastern, 1:00 my time. Let's just run through the matches that we know about right this second. Give 30 seconds on each one and see where we get. Cody and AJ, this for the undisputed WWE title. You see Cody leaving with it?
I do. I don't think his time's up yet. It's going to be a great match. Both guys are going to be killer. I hope it's going to be multiple matches with these guys, because I think there's a lot of mileage here. But yeah, I don't know what to expect from the match, but Cody will walk away with the title in whatever capacity.
I know it's an I Quit match, so I don't know where you go at the end of an I Quit match, because one of the guys is just done. So I would like to see more matches with these two as well. I'm not sure how you do that after an I Quit, unless it ends in some other way.
Well, I mean, I think you had made a comment. I don't know if we were talking a different time or what, but you had made a comment that a no contest would be cool. And if both guys are passed out from
true,
not being able to talk, then it just is what it is.
Both could quit.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Take this job and shove it.
Yeah.
Sammy versus Chad for the Intercontinental title. Is this Chad's time to take home some gold?
Man, I hope so. I have absolutely nothing against Sami Zayn, but the company seems to rely on him a lot for stuff like this. And man, Sammy coming off of Gunther, it didn't work for me. And again, I have nothing against Sami Zayn, but just very, very dull.
Not to get too deep into this, but what we saw from Sammy were big stories built for a while. There was nothing built with Ian Gunther, and he won the title. We've also got. I think that Chad walks away with the gold in that. I think it's his time, and I think it was just a quick turnaround with Sammy. Maybe Sammy takes some time off. I don't even know that's scheduled. I'm just throwing it out there. Women's tag 3-way. This is we talked about the guys' titles, tag titles, not really meaning anything. It feels like these two are really trying to make the women's tag titles mean something. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus Alba Fire and Isla Dawn and Shayna and Zoe. I think the ladies who walk in with the gold leave with the gold. What do you think?
I would think so. Are we assuming that this is a tornado match?
Yeah, it's a 3-way. Yeah.
Okay. Because it would be weird to have a title match with the weird, like, tag yourself in.
Yeah, that's true.
But we've not seen that as much since the regime change, so that's good. But no, I would think that that's the case. I wouldn't mind Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. They hit the main roster, had a couple cool moments, and then just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of potential with them. Is now the time versus Bianca and Jade? Maybe not, but I would not be surprised if there's a lot of attention put to. I think they go by Unholy Union, maybe.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they get a lot of attention in the match as a way to start building them, because I think they've got a lot of great stuff going on.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, they are Scottish too. But although they didn't make them look strong at all on Monday when they faced Shayna, even tapping out to her. Now, what makes me believe that they're going to do anything different in a match when there's a whole nother team against them? I thought, let me back up just a second, just throw this out there. Monday felt really weird. It did not feel like the new regime. It didn't feel like the old regime, but it sure didn't feel like the new regime of WWE running things on Monday. It just felt off. I'm just going to throw that out there for maybe a future conversation. Yeah,
and all that to say, like, it did feel off. But what I will say, this is the lull season, and it's better than stuff we were getting in not the lull season. So
it's interesting. Bayley versus Piper Niven. This is for the undisputed women's title. Bayley just getting rolling with this title again. Do you see Piper Niven getting her turn right now, or is it too soon?
No, I don't. I don't understand that booking. Great for Piper. It'd be a fun match, cool opportunity. As from a career standpoint, why not Chelsea Green? I mean, you've got this amazing talent, did all this indie stuff.
She's so good.
People love her.
Yep.
I don't get it. It's a strange decision, but I always have to remember, like, they are steering the ship a little bit when it comes to these international PLEs.
Yes.
But they do treat the international ones a little different for whatever reason. We've seen it countless times with, like, Crown Jewel or whatever.
Sure.
Where we just throw a bunch of high-profile matches together out of nowhere. So it doesn't surprise me, the nature of some of the composition of these matches. But at the same time, to your point, it feels very out of place.
This is the one that I think has the real story, at least for this PLE this Saturday. Drew versus Damian. Is this Drew's time finally? Are we setting him up to be the champion going into SummerSlam and possibly, I'm assuming, taking on CM Punk? Or are we going to see Drew fall short again this time in his own hometown?
That's a tough call. And really, I have to zoom out a little bit and talk more long-term booking. If you're going to have Punk with the title, which I think was in conversation before he got hurt,
sure,
I don't want it to go on Drew and then off of Drew. I don't want a bunch of title changes. It cheapens the title. And it cheapens the performers too. But at the same time, I don't know that I've preferred Damian Priest as a champion, if I'm being honest with you. I love his work. I love his character. And I want to compliment him with the way I say this, but I don't think he needed the title. I just don't. Everything that was happening in Judgment Day, his presence on screen, the title, in my opinion, has not done anything for him. Yes, it's a career accomplishment. I'm very happy for him with that. But his run has been kind of a dud for me. Drew would have more of that epic champion feel. He has, they're kind of similar in size, but Drew just has the look, the feel, the grit. But at the same time, if you're lining up CM Punk and Drew for SummerSlam, do you finally let Drew go over Punk after all this? Is that really where the story is? It's kind of convoluted in the world heavyweight title lane, if you ask me. I'm not saying that Punk has to have a title shot, so if he's out of the picture on that, then that's fine. But if Drew gets the title and we're constantly teasing Drew and CM Punk, you would think it would be for the title.
Yeah.
And so as we zoom back in, to answer your question, I have no idea.
I do think that we end up seeing Punk at this PLE in one form or fashion. He will show up and be there for this title fight. Is he going to be at ringside again, calling it play-by-play? I don't see that again. I do see him being in Scotland for this match, and we'll see him on camera. So how that plays out, we'll have to wait and see. Looking forward to it on Saturday. Going to be a lot of fun for Clash at the Castle. Of course, we'll talk about it all next week. Anything else we missed we need to hit before we roll, Michael?
I'm just thankful for 2:00 PLEs. It's really great.
It's a good Saturday. It really is going to be a lot of fun. All right, for Michael Glavin, I'm the Ant-Man. We'll see you next time here on the WrestleChat Podcast. Thanks for hanging out.